What's up, Heat fans? Nic Rohloff here at the Heat Report. On today's show, we're going to look at this man right here, Jared McCain, the guard from Duke. Could Miami take him with the 15th overall pick? We'll do a full scouting report and profile on the guard and if he would fit the Miami Heat with that 15th overall pick. But make sure you are subscribed and make sure you have the notifications turned on, because during the offseason, we're dropping videos every single day. And heck, if things get nutty, we might even drop 2 videos on a singular day. So never miss a show or episode we put out. We have over 11,000 subscribers and only 1.7K people have their notifications turned on. So turn those noties on and make sure you click all, not just personalized, so you never miss a video. And we know these 5 guys have not missed a video because they're always commenting on our show and some of the first people to do so. I want to give some shout-outs, and you could earn a shout-out if you're part of the Noti gang in the future. Infamous Slick, Mohamedou, I Am Punchy, Christopher Barker, and Javier, all real ones, all Noti gang members. So if you want to get shout-outs in the future, well, become a Noti gang member. All right, I kind of mentioned it off the top a couple times now, but the Miami Heat do have the 15th overall pick in the draft. I always want to remind people of that just in case they're watching for the first time or did not know. That is the first pick outside of the lottery, which gives the Heat, after a disappointing season a year ago, an advantageous spot in this NBA draft. And in the most recent NBA mock draft from ESPN, Jonathan Gavoni and the folks at ESPN mocked Jared McCain to the Miami Heat. And I want to touch on what they had to say. They said the Heat offense ranked second worst amongst playoff teams. We knew that, folks. May need a jolt coming off a gentleman's sweep at the hands of the Boston Celtics in the first round of the playoffs. Enter McCain, one of the best shooters/scorers in this draft class, who brings quite a few of the off-court intangibles the Heat often covet with his competitiveness, work ethic, and smarts. The Heat will likely hope to see the Duke freshman grow into more of an on-ball threat as his career progresses, but they have some playmaking reps to offer on this roster. And if you watched our draft targets video from a week ago, you would know that Jared McCain is my second favorite target for the Miami Heat. I like Jared McCain's game. I think he would fit very nicely into this Heat roster and this developmental system, and he would be able to grow as one of the best shooting guards, not in terms of position, but best guards that can shoot, I could say, in the NBA with this Heat developmental staff that has worked on so many other people's jump shots that have improved. So I like Jared McCain, and I would have him pretty high on my list of Heat draft targets and players I hope are sitting there at 15 when Miami is on the clock. More on McCain coming, but should the Heat draft the Duke guard? If you think they should, and if you were Pat Riley, you would call it in, type D for draft or type P for pass. I do want to preface this, though. I don't know if he'll be available, guys. I really don't. He is so good at shooting. He's so good off the catch. He has a lot of good traits that he could bring to any NBA roster. And with a couple teams just in front of Miami at the end of lottery needing guards and needing scoring, needing shooting, I just don't see that much of a path for Jared McCain to be there at 15. But nonetheless, we're still going to talk about if he is there at 15 and if Miami were to take him. But first, let's look at his measurements, because this is where things come off to be a little intriguing. He's 6'2" without shoes, which means with shoes he'd be listed at 6'3", 6'4" in the NBA. 6'3.5" wingspan, so he doesn't really have a plus wingspan, but he doesn't have a negative one like crazy either. Kind of lukewarm on that, and I'm intrigued to see how he would do contesting shots in the NBA. The vert isn't anything special either with 33 inches, and a weight of 203 is pretty solid. He's pretty built for someone of his size and age, where he's only 19 years old. And at Duke a year ago, he was terrific for Jon Scheyer and the Duke Blue Devils. He averaged 14 points a game, rebounded 5 times a night, but the part that really stands out to me and should stand out to you is how efficient he was from the field. He shot 46% from the deck, including 41% from beyond the arc. You just don't see collegiate players shooting that efficiently from 3 that often anymore. And we've talked about it in the past, but that's one of his biggest pros is how good he is with the ball in his hands off the catch. He can shoot the shit out of a ball, man. He really can. And that is like probably the top thing on my Jared McCain pros. When you look at what he brings to the table as a prospect, the number one thing is how lightning quick his shot release is. And that's important too, right? Like in the NBA, the speed, the players, the length, the athleticism, it all moves much quicker in the NBA than it does at the college level. Like it does in the college level to high school, like it does in high school to JV, like it does from JV to freshman ball, from freshman ball to middle school. Like I go on and on. As you progress, as you get older, the speed of the game only increases. So the fact that he already can get the ball in his hands and out of his hands towards the rim as quickly as he does and efficiently as he does gives him the long-term ability to be one of the best shooters in the NBA. And one of the other things I love about his shot is how repeatable the form is. We often talk about this. It's like, how hard is it for a shot to go up? Is there ways where it could be mechanically flawed at times? You look at a guy like Klay Thompson, who's obviously one of the best shooters in NBA history. That form is so quick, so easy. It gets in his hands, out of his hands, like absolutely nothing, and every shot looks the exact same. I can see the same thing for Jared McCain, which is why I'm so bullish on his ability to be a shooter in the NBA. And his last pro to me, or one of his biggest pros, is he moves very well laterally. Not the most athletically gifted player in terms of vertical, but he can move side to side amongst the best of them and defend really well. And you pair up that lateral quickness he possesses with that strength and weight we showcased just a second ago at 203 pounds, and this is someone who could be physical, on-ball defender at the point of attack on opposing guards. But he's not going number one overall, so there's no perfect prospect out there. Some of his cons. I think the number one con for Jared McCain is what position does he play? He's 6'2" without shoes. He's 6'3", 6'4" with shoes. That's a small shooting guard or a small two guard in the NBA. But he doesn't really play point guard that much and really didn't do it for Duke a year ago. That was more of Jeremy Roach's responsibility. So is he a point guard? Is he a two guard? If he's a two guard, he's undersized. If he's a point guard, well, he's going to have to work on his handle and facilitating. But number two, we mentioned it. Vert isn't there. Not the best vertical athlete. So he's not going to throw down any dunks. And that's kind of parlays itself into one of my other cons for Jared McCain is I don't think he's the best finisher that you could ask for amongst big men. He oftentimes likes to go to the floater when he gets 2 feet in the paint, which is fine, but it's going to limit your ability to be a three-level scorer if you're not able to attack big men inside, especially in the NBA, when it's very important to put pressure on the rim to draw extra defenders so you can kick out for a teammate. So after looking at his pros, looking at his cons, looking at his size, I have a pretty solid player comp in the NBA right now for Jared McCain. And it's actually someone that we're currently watching play very, very well in the postseason. That is Indiana Pacers guard Andrew Nembhard. They are very similar in size. Nembhard comes in at about 6'3" without shoes, 6'4.5" with shoes on. He's listed at 6'5". That's probably a little bullish if you ask me. The wingspan is there, and we see how Nembhard really has been able to perform and be a difference maker for the Pacers in this postseason alongside Halliburton. And this is where McCain could really flourish potentially because he's not a true point guard, but he's not that big of a two. So can he be that change of pace one when the starting point guard sits down, but also play alongside a point guard like Terry Rozier and make those mid-range shots off the catch, play a secondary ball handler in a half-court offense? I think Jared McCain and Andrew Nembhard are quite similar, and I could see McCain panning out in the NBA like Nembhard did after being the 31st pick from Gonzaga. Coming up here in just a second, though, I do want to talk about how he would fit with this Miami Heat roster, because if he plays like Nembhard, the Heat already have Hero and Terry Rozier, well then where does he fit on this roster? Talk about that in just a second. But make sure you are hooked up at chatsports.com/HeatPolo for this Heat red polo suite. You could wear it on the golf course. You could wear it to work. You could wear it to the bar. You could wear it to watching the game. It's so versatile. I'm a versatility freak. I love versatile things and people, clothing. It doesn't matter. So get yours today before they sell out. Already running out of sizes. 2X and up, gone. So only small, medium, large, and extra large remain. So if you can get one, grab one. Chatsports.com/HeatPolo. All right, before we talk about how he'd fit, let's take a look at who is going to be on the roster for Miami in the upcoming season. The 8 players under contract for the Heat for the 24-25 season is as followed. You have Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, Terry, Duncan, Jaime, Nikola Jovic, and then Orlando Robinson has a contract for next year. It is non-guaranteed for $2.3 million, so if the Heat don't want to have him on the books for $2 million, they just can cut him and not have to have any penalty. But it's obviously unclear to know if a trade's going to happen, so who knows if he will be picking at 15 or who will be on this roster. But these are the 7.5 guys, I'll say, that are guaranteed to be on the roster next year if no deal is made. It's also important to look at who could be on this roster in terms of player options. All 4 of these players can opt into a deal and be on Miami next season or opt out and test free agency. Caleb Martin is getting paid $7 million on his player option. You'd expect him to opt out and try to get the full mid-level exception in free agency, which I believe he deserves. So I don't expect Caleb Martin to be back. But these next 3 guys, I do think. Josh Richardson, after playing well and then getting hurt and losing the remainder of a season halfway through, I think he'll opt in because I don't know if a team would be willing to give him a more lucrative deal after only seeing him play 35 games this last season. And then Thomas Bryant, he stinks, so he's probably going to opt in because who else is going to pay him? And I expect Kevin Love to opt in as well and be that like Udonis Haslem type guy off the bench. But when you talk about what, I almost said Nembhard, Jared McCain would be on this Miami Heat team, I think he would be your second guard off the bench. And that's fine. Like, you're getting a role player right off the jump, and I don't think this would be slander, too, by the way, if you think it is. Like, Jaime Jaquez Jr. was like the second or third wing off the bench, and look how effective he was for most of the season. Now, he did start sometimes, and I think McCain might start, too, if there was injuries to Rozier or Tyler Hero, which are probably bound to happen. But if Josh Richardson opts back in, I'd expect him to be the first guard off the bench or Duncan Robinson, and then Jared McCain would be able to be that second guy who can handle the ball, give you 10 to 15 minutes a game, good shot making, spacing, be a threat from beyond the arc, and just fit really well in this Heat scheme. But the truth is, and the fact of the matter is this, right? It's tough to project how he would fit in this Miami Heat roster and how well he'd be able to perform and be productive when you just don't know who's going to be on the Heat's team. For all we know, the Heat won't be picking at 15. That will be a Cleveland Cavaliers pick, and the Heat have Donovan Mitchell. But maybe they do make a selection, and they deal Rozier or Hero to a different team to switch things up. Like, it's hard to imagine what McCain's fit would be without knowing how he would actually place in this roster. All right, before we close out today's video and sign off, I do want to ask you this, because there's about 4 or 5 weeks left until the NBA draft is here, and I want to know if we should do more prospect profiles like the one we did today. We went very in-depth on Jared McCain, pros, cons, player comp, how he'd fit with the team. If you want to see more of this with different prospects that could be drafted by the Heat at that 15th overall spot, let me know and type me if you like today's video. Also, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff because I'm talking Miami Heat basketball on a daily basis over on the Bird app. So give me a follow at Nic_Rohloff. We'll have another video tomorrow, so I'll see you then.